Welcome back to another episode of DAS. I'm your host, Sean Mack. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing Butch Reed, one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. Absolutely loved him. If you like today's content, make sure you share, like, and subscribe the video. So let's go. Bruce Franklin Reed, born July 11, 1954, and left this world February 5, 2021. Bruce was a professional wrestler and football player, better known for his ring name Butch Reed. He played college football at the University of Central Missouri, was a star in the Mid-South Wrestling, and had a high-profile tag team match in the World Wrestling Federation, the WWF, such as the first Survivor Series main event, the World Championship Wrestling, where he held the championship with Ron Simmons and Doom. Let's take a deeper dive into the life and death of Butch Reed. As I stated earlier, Butch attended the University of Central Missouri, where he played college football. In 1976, he was signed as a rookie free agent for the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL. He had the size, the strength, and the heart, but just not the skills, and he was cut before the season began. After having his dreams shattered by not making the NFL, Butch tried his hands in something new. He was trained to wrestle by Ronnie Etchison, debuting in 1978. Early on, he wrestled as Bruce Reed, adopting the Hacksaw nickname over time. Reed and Jerry Roberts beat Michael George and Bob Sweden for the NWA Central State Tag Team Championship in 1980, and lost it to the Kelly Twins in January of 1981. His next title also came as one half of the tag team when he and Sweet Brown Sugar won the Florida version of the NWA North American Tag Team Championship, when they beat Dory Funk Jr. and David Von Erich in 1982. Reed wrestled mainly for the NWA in the early 1980s and made a name for himself in their St. Louis, Florida Championship Wrestling and Georgia's Championship Wrestling territories. On April 7th of 1982, Reed had what now is recognized as the first 5-star rated match by David Meltzer, in which he challenged Ric Flair for the NWA title in Miami, Florida. Butch established himself as a force to be reckoned with, while competing in Bill Watts' Mid-South Wrestling from 1983 throughout early 1986. In the Mid-South, he was known as Hacksaw Butch Reed, and came into the territory as a tag team partner for the main face in that territory, the Junkyard Dog. Reed immediately came face-to-face with Hacksaw Jim Duggan over the Hacksaw nickname. Back in 1983, Duggan was part of the Hill Group, the Rat Pack, along with Ted DiBiase and Matt Bourne, and used every dirty move he could think of to beat Reed. He and Duggan feuded over the Hacksaw name until Duggan turned face. This resulted in Reed's heel turn, when Duggan was picked to be Junkyard Dog's tag team partner over Reed. Butch appeared on TV stating that, quote, Butch Reed is going to start looking out for Butch Reed, end quote, which prompted the Junkyard Dog to join him in the ring. After arguing back and forth, Reed attacked the Junkyard Dog and was soon joined in the attack by Ted DiBiase. On July 16, 1983, Reed won the Mid-South North American Heavyweight Championship and turned back JYD's challenge in subsequent months. In October of 1983, Reed's arrogance made him agree to let Mid-South fans pick a challenger for the North American title. He let them pick from JYD, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and newcomer Magnum TA. The fans picked JYD, but Reed dismissed the choice. He also stated that Duggan did not deserve a shot, and instead gave the title shot to TA, who won the title, then lost it 12 days later to Nikolai Volkov. On the same night that Reed lost the North American title, he and partner Jimmy Neihart beat Magnum TA and Hacksaw Jim Duggan to win the Mid-South Tag Team Championship. After a few weeks, the North American title was returned to Reed. claiming that the title match with TA was not legal since the fans chose JYD. Reed's run as a double champion did not last for long, as JYD got his title shot with Dusty Rhodes as a special guest referee. After losing the North American title, Reed and Neidhart focused on the tag team titles and defending them against all comers. When Magnum and Mr. Wrestling 2 challenged for the title, they felt that the challengers had to put up something of their own, Mr. Wrestling 2's mask. Mr. Wrestling did not unmask that night, as they took the gold from Reed and Neidhart in a steel cage match on Christmas of 1983. Neidhart and Reed started to blame each other and had a short, brutal feud. The Neidhart feud was soon replaced with one with Terry Taylor, who came out to save Neidhart from being beaten down with a football helmet after a match. The Reed and Taylor feud raged all throughout the spring of 1984 and was instrumental in establishing Terry Taylor as a star in the Mid-South. The feud soon expanded to include Nature Boy Buddy Landel as Reed's tag team partner and saw Reed attack Taylor with a coal miner's glove on several occasions. After fighting with Terry Taylor for months on end, Reed's attention turned from Taylor back to his old enemy, the Junkyard Dog. During a match, Reed and Landel attacked the JYD as he performed under the masked stage name Stagler Lee and painted him yellow. The war between the two brought Sonny King and later Ernie Ladd to the team with Junkyard Dog. After the tag matches came brutal single matches such as dog collar matches. Just as the feud was about to reach its heated highlight, the Junkyard Dog left Mid-South Wrestling and signed with the WWF without informing Booker Bill Watts of his decision. This meant that the Federation was without its biggest face, and the shows had to be hastily rebooked. Watts brought in Master G, journeyman wrestler George Wells, to take JYD's place, but the feud between Reed and Master G never took off, forcing Watts to rethink his options. When General Skandor Akbar entered the Mid-South Wrestling and started to build a stable of heels, he presented Buddy Landel with a golden Rolex watch with the understanding that it wasn't actually for Landel, but for someone else Akbar was trying to recruit. When Landel tried to give the watch to Reed, he became incensed in the storyline, stomped on the watch, and started to brawl with his former partner. Akbar and his cronies came to ringside, which prompted Reed to rant on them, getting the crowd behind him, as he told them he didn't need backup. When Hacksaw Jim Duggan came to the rescue from a 3-on-1 attack, Reed's face status was cemented that night. The two Hacksaws feuded with Akbar's army of Landel, DiBiase, Steve Williams, and Hercules. The two Hacksaws were successful at first, until Reed came up against Kamala. He proved to be too much for Reed, beating him all over the Mid-South territory before Reed quietly left. Reed went to the American Wrestling Association for a short stint as Jimmy Garvell's bodyguard, then returned to the Mid-South in the middle of 1985. In October of '85, he beat Dick Murdoch for the North American title. Around this time, he had a famous 1-hour time limit draw with the NWA champion Nature Boy Ric Flair, and feuded with Dick Slater when Slater helped Ric Flair keep the world title. In January of 1986, Slater won the North American title from Butch Reed through underhanded means. From 1986 through 1988, Rick and Slick signed with the WWF and were brought in as a package. Reed dyed his hair blind and became the natural Butch Reed, an updated version of Sweet Daddy Siki. He feuded initially with Tito Santana, a target of Slick's verbal jabs, and made a pay-per-view debut at WrestleMania 3, where he defeated Koko Beware. In the weeks after WrestleMania, Reed targeted new Intercontinental Champion Ricky Steamboat and faced him at the house show and on an episode of Wrestling Challenge. In the fall, the WWF was heavily hyping the feud between Reed and the superstar Billy Graham. a former WWF champion who was staging a comeback after a hip replacement. Graham's condition was such that he could no longer handle the physical demands of being a wrestler, so Reed and Slick's newest acquisition, the one-man gang, injured Graham in a sneak attack that was used to explain his permanent retirement. Graham began managing the man who came to his aid, Don Muraco, with Muraco's immediately entering into the rivalry with Reed. The enemies were on opposing teams in the main event of the first Survivor Series. Muraco took Graham's place on Hulk Hogan's team. Reed, a member of Andre the Giant's team, was the first elimination of the match by Hogan. Reed competed in and was the first wrestler eliminated from the first Royal Rumble match in January of 1988. 2 months later, he was eliminated in the first round of the WrestleMania 4 Championship Tournament in the first round by eventual tournament winner Randy Savage. Reed dominated most of the match against Savage, but spent too much time mouthing off to Savage's manager, a real-life wife, Miss Elizabeth, while climbing to the top turnbuckle. Savage caught Reed, threw him off for a slam, and immediately hit him with the diving elbow drop off the top turnbuckle for the win. This first-round loss at WrestleMania 4 was Reed's final match for the WWF. But on September 9th, 2007, Reed made a cameo appearance backstage at the September 14th edition of WWE SmackDown during a segment involving his former manager and SmackDown general manager Theodore Long. From 2007 to 2013, Reed continued to work on the independent scene for a part-time basis so that he could participate in the rodeo circuit in Kansas City. In 2000, he started working for Harley Race's WLW promotion. He beat Luminous Warrior for the WLW heavyweight title on March 31st of 2001 and held the title until Dennis Hawkins beat him for it on January 25th, 2002. After losing the title, he retired from wrestling. After being retired for 3 years, Reed returned in 2005, appearing several times for Mid-State Wrestling and eventually defeating heavyweight champion Mr. Saturday Night Michael Berry on November 11, 2005 for the Mid-State Wrestling heavyweight title. He also participated in Legends of Wrestling Tour in 2006. On August 18, 2007, he lost to Steve Williams at the NWA Legends Fan Fest. Reed's last match was on May 18, 2013, teaming up with Bobby Orton Jr. and losing to Flash Flanagan and Ron Powers at SICW in Illinois. In July of 2016, Reed was named part of a class action lawsuit filed against the WWE, which alleged that wrestlers incurred traumatic brain injuries during their tenure and that the company concealed the risk of injury. The suit was litigated by attorney Konstantin Kairos, who has been involved in a number of other lawsuits against the WWE. In September of 2018, the lawsuit was dismissed by U.S. District Judge Vanessa Lynn Bryant. On February 5th of 2021, an Instagram post from Reed's official account announced his death from complications of 2 heart attacks that occurred in January. His relatives attributed his death to C-19 and said he tested positive around January 12th. He was 66 years old. Rest in peace, Big Dog. Thanks for watching. I've been your host, Sean Mack. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the video, and hit up that comment section as well and tell me what you thought about the Mid-South Wrestling back in the days. It was the world to me. Loved them all. Once again, thanks for watching. Death After Sports. Butch Reed.